G'day YouTubers, Steve from Vintage Restorations Australia here. In today's video we take a look at the installation of the 12 volt running lights and also the installation of the internal LED 12 volt lighting system. The 12 volt don't have to be licensed, so you can do that yourself, but we also recommend getting an auto electrician to do that if you don't know what you're doing. This isn't a guide on how to do it, this is just showing you what we do. So the first thing we're going to look at is the running lights, the 12 volt running lights. So the indicator, the stop brake light, and the tail number plate and the clearance lights that you find up on the front of the van there. We'll also have a look at the internal system of lighting, so the 12 volt down lights for the hatch and also the LED lighting inside the van. So these are the Lucas lights that we use. We bring these in from England. They're still made because the English are a bit ahead of us as far as building restoration products. They never actually went out of production. So we've got the tail light, stop light and the indicators there. They're good quality glass lens. This is actually metal and decent quality chrome, and then a good solid rubber seal and boot on the back. We've used these on all of our vans. We've never had an issue with them. You can buy lens replacements for them still. They're a fantastic light and they look great on the van once they're done. So these are the clearance lights that we use. They're a hella light, as you can see. These are new old stock. The original ones were made of metal. These are now just a chrome plastic. If you can find the old metal ones, they're beaut. These ones, you know, we stick with the look that we like, so this is what we're using now. To get a tidy hole, you need to use a nice, decent quality hole cutter and go fairly slow. Lovely. When you're running the cable for the running lights and things, it's this heavy duty 7-ply or 7-strand cable. These are all colour coordinated, so you know what's going in that end and where it's coming out the other end. For the 12 volt stuff, if you're just running a single line like inside where we run the downlights and stuff, we use this DC cable. So that's a 15 amp DC cable, just 2 strands, again colour coded, so you know which is which when it goes in and comes out. Again shielded. We run that through a conduit, so it's really triple shielded. You've got a shielding there, and then a conduit over the top. So when I talk about conduit, I mean this stuff here. It's basically a split loom cable, so it splits in the middle, and you can clip it over the wires. Get that from places like Autobarn or Super Cheap Auto. Any of those places will stock that. Comes in a big 30-metre roll and it's about $20. So it's worth conduiting all of your DC. Anywhere it goes through that frame, put this on it. You can see here we've run the 12 volt running lights and things. That's for the blinkers and the tail light and all that kind of stuff. We've run those before we put the insulation and the cladding, internal plywood cladding on this wall. It's a little tip, you don't want to have to do it afterwards. You can see here the DC cabling running through the frame. Wherever we penetrate the frame, we add conduit to it. Even up here where it's going up to the LED lighting strip, which will be mounted inside here. So these holes I've drilled at 12 mils. This just slides on like that, and then you can tuck it through the frame. I put a bit of Sikaflex on here once I've got that in position. It just saves it a braiding, you know, as it rattles down the road. If this was just straight onto the metal edge, it would have braided through and eventually fail. It also helps to get around those difficult little corners like that, where you've got to go in and out of the external for the running lights and things. Just run that out there as well. You can see that just takes the edge off that to stop it rattling around. and just pull the excess through to the outside if you've got some. So it's important to run all these cables out, your number plate light, your blinkers and clearance lights and all that sort of stuff, before you put too much walling in, because all of that disappears. It's a bit hard to get to once you've walled it out. So that's running off to the clearance lights up the front and back down, blinkers, tail light, number plate light in the middle there, and your left blinker and tail light. If you Google trailer wiring diagram, you'll find a heap of good diagrams explaining quite clearly where all the colours join up and where they go. So this is essentially the plug, and these are your cables going to your lights and things. So have a look online and find yourself a trailer wiring diagram and follow that when you're putting your wiring in. So these are the cables that run back to the tail lights and things. This cable here is a separate cable for the electric brakes. You need to use a 15 amp. This stuff is not really rated, but I don't think it's 15 amp, so I tend not to use that. So we remove the blue brake cable from there, and we run a separate earth as well, so that we've got 15 amps on the brake. The black is redundant also, because that's just a reverse light, and we don't have a reverse light on the van, so you don't need those two, but the rest of those are connecting through to the back. This is the connector we use. It's an aluminium one, so it's quite a good quality solid thing. It won't get crushed and broken. They cost a little bit more, but they're far superior. Simply opens like that, and there you have all your connectors inside. It's also conveniently labelled, so you know which wire's going where. This cable here is the one that runs from the front of the van that we looked at there a minute ago. So this feeds all of those colour-coded cables to the rear of the van from the car, or from the trailer hitch anyway. So this bundle of cables is colour coded. For instance, this is the green, so that's the right hand blinker. You've got to pick your colour and match it to where it's got to go, essentially using your wiring diagram as a guide. These Lucas lights have a little connector that goes in each electrical connection. So that basically comes out, pulls out. Oh, it's a bit tight, that makes a good connection. So that just pops out, and then you solder that into there, and then that connects to that. Same with the earth cable. So these go together fairly straightforward. Oh, a bit of pushing and pulling. So that white is the earth, which goes onto this earth. That just pushes in. That just goes in there like that. And then that fits in. And into there, fasten it in. And we do exactly the same with this one. Here we have the left-hand lights. These are the cables that we ran earlier. They're a bit long, of course, so we'll just straight away nip that off. This has got to connect into the tail light, because that's the feed that runs off to the clearance lights on the front, so we've got to wire that into these. So we need to open these up to take the indicator off and to wire that in, and of course again these are all the colour-coded cables, so we know which is which. Once the light's roughed in, they just need testing and then screwing in. This is the standard bulb that comes with these Lucas lights, a bit old school. We like to replace them with these LEDs. And just as a little comparison, you can see how much brighter that is. For the cost of like 15 bucks a set, it'll be about $60 odd to do the whole van, but it's well worth it. Again, on that little Morris number plate light, we've added LED lights to that to increase the brightness. You can see all those LEDs are quite bright. On, off, on, right hand blinker. Lovely, it all works. People can see us from outer space. So the light switches that we use in the van are DC switches. These have come from a specialist electrical supplier that deals with caravan stuff. You can't use a regular AC switch because they can arc out across the connection, so you've got to use DC switches. DC switches in a caravan are marked with this black switch here. So, and that will tell you which is 240 and which is 12 volt. So definitely use these DC switches. This is the 5 amp power supply that supplies power to the internal LED lights. So it's coming out of 240, going into a 5 amp power supply, and then we run that back into the wall, up through here to an on-off switch, and from that switch it runs across and feeds to the LED lights, which will go in here, and then the cable runs all the way across and comes out here, which feeds power to the hatch lights that go into here. This is the aluminium extrusion for the LED lighting. It essentially just rivets into position a countersunk rivet. So we drill into here, do a countersink rebate, and then just rivet them in position. This is very low profile. It's only 8 mils, so it's not hanging down very far. These are connected in the corners with a 45-degree cut. This is the LED light that sits inside that track. It's just got those little light emitting diodes. So you can see the track sitting there, and it just glues up into there, and then we connect it. We've got 2 connections here because you don't want to do big long runs of this because it starts to get dim at the ends. So if you've got to do a fair bit like we've done in here, like right around the van, you're better off doing 2 runs. So this joins back there, it's got a run this way and a run that way, coming all the way back, joining here, and from here this runs back through the wall, back down to that DC switch that we showed before. So when you turn that on, boom, the lights come on. So once that's installed, there's actually a light cover that goes over the top, a diffuser, and that's it there. So from that switch, the power runs up to there, and it also runs through this wall and comes out at the hatch. So the power's coming out at the hatch there, and we run these LED downlights, and they basically fit up into the hatch in these holes that we've drilled there. There's the lights all up and running now. The cover's on, and the 4 hatch lights in. Well, this has got to be cleaned up and fitted out, of course. Well, there's the van completely locked up with all the electrical and everything done. She's off for a rego inspection tomorrow. And then we begin the painting and polishing of the exterior and the interior fit out. That kind of wraps it up for today's episode, folks. I hope you got something out of that. If you've got any questions or comments, or you just want to say g'day and check in, the comment section down below, we'd appreciate that. I guess we'll see you in the next episode. Till then, take care. Bye.